Alright, so in this video we're going to go over a little bit about picking your RPE and some of the finer points of like being more effective at your RPEs. So I'm going to use Coach Joe here as an example because he won't mind me picking on him a little bit for overshooting his protocols lately. So we're going to look at 2 different squat sessions that were 3 weeks apart, but there was an overshoot in both of them. So we want to go over a little bit over what his squat looks like and how some other people's squats may look the same and how that can affect rating the RPE. So we'll look at this video first right here. The protocol for this session was supposed to be 2 sets of 2 at RPE 8. All right, so RPE 8 means that you definitely have 2 more reps in the tank. So here's the first video. And so on this squat, you'll see he's fairly smooth throughout the rep, and then pretty quick at the lockout you see the bar and the weight kind of bouncing at the top. And then here's the second rep, and you see he has this low sticking point, and then again it gets faster going into lockout. So that was 215 kilos. He felt that that wasn't RPE 8, so he decided to go up 7.5 kilos to 222.5 kilos. And here is that video. And then you'll see on this rep here, similar to the second rep of the last one, he gets really stuck here, that coming out of the hole, and then speeds up below into lockout. And you'll see there's only 1 rep, and if you read the information, you'll see he did the 1 rep. It was much harder than he expected, so he just passed on doing the second rep and racked it, which is a smart move at that point. But what we're going over is the point of adjusting, going up 7.5 kilos. And that goes back into this set and what I showed you, where he does a high bar squat and does a little bit of bounce out of the hole. He tends to have a sticking point just out of the hole, and it's slow, and then it speeds up into lockout. And here's a powerful lockout. As I said, you see the bar and the weights bounce up. And so a lot of people will kind of look at the fastest point of the range of motion, that lockout and the bar bouncing, and rate the RPE lower because of that, saying, oh, it's a good set. I could have done more reps. Weight was easy. And they might rate it like RPE 7 and then go up in weight. And then you go up in weight and you realize that you were wrong. Another way to look at it, which is the way I try and look at it, and I think more people should look at it, is looking at the hardest point of the range of motion, the slowest point. And looking at that slowest point, when you add weight, that's the part that's going to be holding you back. That's the weakest link that everyone talks about and where you're trying to strengthen. So you have to look at that weak area, that slow area, and say, okay, if I add more weight, how much harder is that point going to get? And maybe I won't even be able to get through that portion if I add enough weight, regardless of how fast the lockout is. So if you do it that way, then you'll see on this first set that he pretty much already hit that RPE 8, and that you should stop it there. 215 for 2 reps is RPE 8, and then you take your set again at that same weight for the second set, instead of going up in weight. So then for a couple weeks, kind of played a little bit more conservative, hit his RPEs, and then we'll go to this second video here, which is from January 3rd, 3 days from recording this. And then again, we're back on squats again, and we got one video we're gonna look at here is 217.5. The protocol for this time was just 1 set of 2 reps at an RPE 8.5. So now we're only focusing on 1 set, and the RPE is a little bit higher. So we're going to take a look at the video now. So on this one, you'll see gets into that little slow part and then speeds up into lockout. Easy lockout, goes for the second rep, and then really fights through that slow point, and then again speeds up into lockout. You see the bar and the weights bounce up at lockout, no problem there. So again, this is a gauging RPE based on the wrong part of the rep, based on whether you're rating your RPE on how it feels when you're actually underneath the bar and the weights, or based on watching the video later and seeing this quick lockout and being like, oh, that was easy, RPE 7, 7.5, let me go up and weight. But if you're actually watching it at the slowest point, then you'll see how hard that second rep was. Basically, RPE 9.5. Maybe you could have done a kilo or two more. Definitely couldn't have done another rep. So you can call it 9.5 or 10 right there when the protocol was actually 8.5. So just another way of looking at things is you want to be looking at the hardest point of the movement, because that's what's going to be affecting the RPE the most, and that's what's going to be affecting whether you make or miss the lift the most. So you kind of want to look at it, I joke with Joe, is looking at more of a pessimistic kind of viewpoint, is you're looking at as that's the hardest part, and that's what's going to make your RPE the hardest, and so you should be erring on that side. And you see if that approach is kind of taken with these sessions, and the warm-up before this one that I posted on Instagram, I asked everyone, hey, was it a 7 or an 8? Because Joe thought it was a 7 and I thought it was an 8, kind of getting close to an 8.5. And you saw the overwhelming votes were for 8. It was like 68 or 69 votes for 8 and like 20 to 23 votes for 7. Some people messaged me, thought it was 8.5, thought it was a 9. So at least a lot of people are agreeing with me in how they're rating someone else's lift. But there were still some people that were rating it much lower. And possibly some of those people that rate it correctly would rate it much lower when it is their own lift versus when they're watching someone else's lift. So when it comes to rating yourself, you kind of have to try and have that non-biased viewpoint, and kind of focus on the hardest or slowest portion of the lift to help you figure out how much more you have, whether you're going for a specific RPE or even going for a 1 rep max in a competition, something like that. So I hope that helps you out. Hopefully it helps out Coach Joe here too, to stay within his RPEs and execute his lifts in his competition coming up. All right, see ya.